An evil federation, 2 Jedi Masters, 1 young boy with the future of a galaxy on his shoulders, and whatever the hell Jar Jar is. This is our 1-year anniversary since we turned the projector off, and the 20th anniversary of this classic film. So sit back as we remake Star Wars, The Phantom Menace, right.
Yippee!
Hello, my fellow cinematic architects, and welcome to Remake This Movie Right. This is a show that takes an original film that has an actual remake in the works, or should. Figure out what still clicks and what doesn't. There was a bit of humor at it, and then we determine exactly how Hollywood should remake it. By the end of each episode, or each past episode, we will have the remake ready to roll for Hollywood execs and present it to you in movie trailer form. We are here to tell Hollywood how to remake this movie right. And I am your host, Aaron Peterson. Joining me for this reunion episode is Troy Heinritz.
I have no lightsaber because it was $200 when I visited.
Oh, that's right.
The galaxy far, far away.
Yeah, you went to the Star Wars park. You saw how this all works.
Sort of. I saw it worked better.
And also Wayne Henderson, Mr. Trailer himself.
Greetings and salutations. It's so good to be back on Remake This Movie Right.
Yeah, this is interesting. People have been asking if it was ever going to come back. So here, you've got an anniversary episode.
Boom.
Is that enough? I don't know. You tell us. I did hear some people say we should remake this podcast right. I don't know what that meant, but it kind of hurt.
A little bit.
So when you went to the Star Wars park, do they have Jar Jar Binks there, or they ban him completely from the park?
No, because the park takes place between episodes 8 and 9, so there is no remnants of the Phantom Menace.
You think that was intentional? Like, we're not going to...
Oh,
yeah. I think so.
Oh, that poor guy. Was it Ahmed Best or whatever his name is? That poor guy, like, had his whole career sidetracked because of that. Well, if you haven't figured it out yet, we are remaking Star Wars The Phantom Menace. We figured it's the 20th anniversary of that film. It's the anniversary of the last episode of our show, so we thought, why not? Here's what that movie was about. And you might actually need this to understand what it's about, because they don't do a very good job of explaining it. Obi-Wan Kenobi is a young apprentice Jedi Knight under the tutelage of Qui-Gon Jinn, Anakin Skywalker, who will later father Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia, and become known as Darth Vader, is just a 9-year-old boy. When the Trade Federation cuts off all routes to the planet Naboo, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, say that 3 times real fast, are assigned to protect Queen Amidala in hopes of securing a peaceful end to a large-scale interplanetary trade dispute. Okay, initial thoughts on the original film when it was released. So here's what I want to ask you guys, okay?
Okay.
There are a lot of people who hate this movie. I don't hate this movie. I don't know where you land. But at the time of its release, I think people universally really liked it. And it's just, I think time has kind of caught up to it in many respects, especially in terms of the story. How did you feel before you saw Phantom Menace, and how did you feel after you initially saw Phantom Menace?
The first time I saw it was at midnight after I'd stood outside all day, 6 a.m., got in line for the tickets, bought tickets at 4, got back in line for my seats, and then finally got in the theater. Mm-hmm. So during the pod race, I took a nap during the pod race.
Did you really? Oh, because you were exhausted.
It was that long. The pod race is that long. I mean, that is the fundamental thing about this movie I cannot stand, is how long the pod race is. And it just kills the movie's momentum at that point. Because I think the ending battle sequence is great. I think the reasons why they're there for the Trade Federation story is pretty good. It needed to be like, I hate to say it, 20 minutes too long. Yeah, we'll just bring those back too right away. We're at it at the tropes. But yeah, it was long. I don't think it needed to be as long as it needed to be. And I like the young Anakin concept and the Midi-chlorians and describing some things that people really didn't know about Star Wars lore to begin with at that time. And so it introduced a lot of great concepts. It just was executed poorly, I think.
And for me, I had seen Star Wars A New Hope opening weekend, Empire Strikes Back opening night, didn't want to be spoiled on that one, and Return of the Jedi opening weekend. So I had been waiting a long time for a new Star Wars film. I was beyond excited. I think I overhyped myself up. It could not possibly live up to those expectations, and it didn't. I left the theater kind of enjoying it, but it seemed like just a big cotton candy that left me kind of empty inside, but it, still satisfied the sweet tooth.
Oh, cotton candy. That's an interesting way to look at it. I remember being built up to, I remember going to a movie. I don't remember what it was, but just to watch the trailer. I mean, it was one of those things. Because I tried to get it online, and I think their servers crashed or something that when they first released the trailer. Yeah. It was this insane thing, and people that are younger don't realize how much of a buildup it was. Because now they're getting Star Wars movies every year, every couple of years, so they're kind of spoiled at this point. We hadn't had one since Return of the Jedi. So it had been a minute. It had been, 15, 16 years since the last Star Wars movie. So we were just pumped, and it looked like, wow, we have all the new special effects. We have all this. So I was just stoked and waited in line just like Troy got there. And I remember visually being wowed. I thought it was very impressive. I remember seeing Jar Jar going, okay, so it's this version's Ewok. And didn't like that at all. I don't blame the actor. It's not, he was just doing what he was told. I just don't think that character worked. I mean, it was made to sell toys. I get it, but didn't work. And I felt like after it was over, Lucas was trying to be he wanted his cake and he needed it too. He wanted to have a Star Wars movie that was more adult for the people that grew up with it and also still have that childish flair. But I think he forgot how to combine the two. And he made it way too convoluted, because the original Star Wars movies are not that freaking deep, man. It's good versus evil, and he invented the Jedi thing, and that worked great, and it was even that was very simplistic. But here there were so many complicated issues and politics and things that people just didn't care about. They just wanted a Star Wars movie, and I think that kind of overwhelmed it and made me overwhelmed when I walked out.
Yeah, and I think he was overly excited about being able to use digital effects instead of the physical effects that made the first three movies so great. And I think he spent too much time on that, as well as the deep stuff that you mentioned, Aaron. And it was just empty in a lot of ways.
Could be. Although I got to disagree with Troy on the pod racer. I love the pod racing scene. I think that was fun. That was like one of the few moments where I'm like, yee, yippee.
It just needed to be shorter. That's all.
No, that might be true.
One lap would have been great.
2 laps. 2 laps. Come on, that was a lot of fun. That was fun. I agree with you, Wayne. There was way too many special effects, and I think a lot of them weren't at the point they needed to be to make work.
Right.
Yeah. But, give him credit for trying. It's vision. You got to give him vision. All right. Well, we are a member of the Hollywood Outsider Network. Listen to episodes of Remake This Movie Right on your favorite podcast app, or visit the website at Remake This Movie Right. Here's a little clip from The Phantom Menace.
I built a racer. It's the fastest ever. There's a big race tomorrow on Boonta Eve. You could enter my pod.
Anakin, Watto won't let you.
Watto doesn't know I've built it. You could make him think it was yours and get him to let me pilot it for you.
I don't want you to race. It's awful. I die every time Watto makes you do it.
But Mom, I love it. The prize money would more than pay for the parts they need.
Anakin.
Your mother's right. Is there anyone friendly to the Republic who can help us?
No.
Mom, you say the biggest problem in this universe is nobody helps each other.
I'm sure Qui-Gon doesn't want to put your son in danger. We'll find some other way.
No. There is no other way. I may not like it, but he can help you. He was meant to help you.
Okay, you guys ready for some trivia on this big bad movie?
Oh, yeah.
Shoot.
We're all fans. Let's see how much of this you guys already knew. During filming, Ewan McGregor made lightsaber noises as he dueled. It was had to be corrected, and it had to be corrected during post-production.
That's a guy who's excited about his job.
I would do it too.
Oh, heck yeah.
I do it when I'm swinging a broom around.
Can you imagine if Harrison Ford did that when he was shooting? Pew, 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 pew.
Pew, pew. Sets were built only as high as the tops of the actors' heads, and computer graphics filled in the rest. Liam Neeson was so tall that he cost the set crew an extra $150,000 in construction.
It sounds like chump change.
It does, but, I mean, that's pretty cool. That's a pretty interesting stat.
You could just borrow from Jabba.
Yeah, I suppose. During the first week of the full trailer's release, many theaters reported up to 75% of their audiences paying full price for a movie, then walking out after the Star Wars Episode 1 trailer was shown.
Wow, I did not know that.
Now, I stayed for the movie I paid for, and I think it was Meet Joe Black or something. But yeah, it wasn't good. The trailer was better. One little fun fact: during the credits, Jabba the Hutt is actually listed as played by himself.
That would make sense since he's not human.
So weird. When fully dressed up and in makeup, Natalie Portman and Keira Knightley resembled each other so much that even Knightley's mother, Sharma McDonald, who visited the set, had trouble identifying her own daughter.
I didn't realize it was Keira Knightley.
That was hard to believe.
Really? You guys didn't think they looked alike, or?
No, not really.
I thought it was some rando.
No, it was Keira Knightley. Well, she was a rando at that time.
Rando Calrissian.
Okay. Oh my God. 20th Century Fox released the first trailer with strict instructions that it not be shown before a certain date. When a Canadian movie theater accidentally showed it a day early, they lost rights to show the movie entirely.
Whoa.
Let's see here. This is the first movie to show every time a lightsaber is activated or deactivated. In the original trilogy, this mostly had to occur off screen because they would physically switch from a lightsaber hilt to a lightsaber hilt with a blade inserted, which led to an awkward jump cut. Now, if you go back and rewatch that, that's true. I mean, most of the time you'll just hear the whoosh off screen, and then you'll see them with the lightsaber on.
Technology.
Hey. This is kind of a sad one. Jake Lloyd has said that he retired from acting because of the trauma he experienced after playing Anakin Skywalker. According to Lloyd, other children and even adults constantly teased him about the role.
That is unfortunate because he was just doing what he was paid to do, and all of us would have jumped at it as well.
Mm-hmm. Also, speaking of Jake Lloyd, he said that there was a 6-hour cut of the film that was screened for several people before the film was released, with those who saw it proclaiming it to be mind-bogglingly good. Like the later lost cut of New Hope, which has existed but never been seen. This cut has never been released publicly. Can you imagine a 6-hour version of this?
You get to see all 500 laps of the pod race.
I was just thinking about how many big fish they were able to swim away from underwater.
Oh, God. That scene was just, why? Misa can't stand it. Benicio del Toro was originally set to play Darth Maul. Del Toro left the film after George Lucas took most of Maul's lines out of the film, but he finally did join the franchise when he played DJ in The Last Jedi. By the way, in case you didn't know, Darth Maul has exactly 6 minutes of screen time.
And that's why the movie didn't work.
He definitely should have played a bigger part. He was such a great bad guy. Don't you wish he would have been there for like that whole trilogy?
No doubt.
Okay, last one. Ewan McGregor, who plays Obi-Wan Kenobi, is the nephew of Dennis Lawson, who played Rebel pilot Wedge Antilles in the original trilogy.
Now we're talking.
That's a cool fact.
There you go, guys. There's our little trivia. We haven't done those in a while, so that's kind of fun.
Here's the problem, though. Like, when you rewatch this, it's just the amount of special effects that we see now on like an HD or 4K TV. It's just so egregious. Like, you can't overlook it. Like, when Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan are landing on, I think it's on Tatooine, the Naboo ship. Like, if you look at the shadow, I saw this the other night. If you look at the shadow underneath the ship is all like tilting and tipping and trying to figure its way in. The shadow is a complete perfect circle.
Nice. Well, that's how things are on other planets, Troy.
So there's no movement in the shadow whatsoever. And then obviously to get the dust kick up that happens, they do that with a helicopter when they film it originally. Mm-hmm. You can actually see the dust go through the ship.
Really?
It's so bad. It is so bad.
Well, it's probably great for the time. It's just, now we're at a point where it's seamless. Everything's so seamless,
Yeah, it's like watching the lava scene in the third movie when they're trying to fight each other. You could just see they're standing still as the lava moves past them versus them actually moving in the lava. It's so egregious now. It's really, really horrible.
You mentioned shadow. That reminds me, the poster for Phantom Menace was one of the best posters I ever saw, where it had little Anakin and his shadow was Darth Vader.
Yep.
Yes. Very cool.
That was a great, great poster. Just a great poster.
Spoiler.
Oh. Yeah. Oops. In case you didn't know, this is the first one you're catching, things go bad for our boy. No. Yeah, one of the worst scenes in film.
He has great spin moves, though.
Yeah. Oh, it burns. It burns. What makes this movie so notable for you, Wayne? What is the good from Phantom Menace as you rewatched it?
That was hard to pick out because up until the time of the prequels coming out, Star Wars was my favorite franchise of all time. It could do no wrong except for the Ewoks. And then this just, I don't know. And watching it again this week, what worked or what did I like from it?
Mm-hmm.
I do admit I still love the first ever meeting of C-3PO and R2-D2.
Okay. Classic.
Pod race was a cool concept, but like Troy said, it needs to be a lot shorter. And that was basically it. It was just kind of cool to see the concept of a young Obi-Wan Kenobi. And some of the other things were just kind of strange, but we'll get to that later.
Okay. What about you, Troy? What works for you?
Well, I loved how in the original trilogy, they always talked about the Republic and fighting for the Republic. So to be able to see the Republic, because we didn't have the awesome, 20th anniversary edition added special effects from George Lucas to show us what, Coruscant and some of the other planets looked like at the end of Return of the Jedi.
Uh-huh.
We just had to imagine what the rest of the Republic looked like, because all we knew was Tatooine and Yavin and Alderaan, which we only saw briefly from space. But this gave it a wider world to know that there could be many more Star Wars stories. And I think that was really great that they set that up overall. But I think the other cool thing about it was that it was just having a female-centric person, because Leia always seemed like she was in the background in the first three. So to have Queen Amidala be kind of the focus, I thought was really great too, to see that, there are women in this galaxy, that you have people of power that could actually rise to power and could actually maybe become Jedis themselves potentially. So it opened up some really cool ideas that I think just weren't executed on greatly.
Those are all good points. I will say, for the time, now keep in mind, I'm not saying currently, because I know there's some flaws in the effects now, but the special effects for the time were amazing. Absolutely amazing. I hadn't seen anything like what I saw on film at the time. The problem I felt was that, like George Lucas needed too much of it. He just didn't want to dial it back ever. That was, but what we saw looked great mostly. The pod racing scene, maybe a little shorter, but I love that scene. I think it's just a really fun, it reminded me very much of a fun Star Wars scene. The last 30 minutes entirely, I think, are pretty fantastic. The intercut of the space battle and the sword fight, all that stuff worked, I think, just seamlessly. It worked great. It was a lot of fun. It was almost like that was the pod race felt a little bit like a Star Wars movie, but that end felt like that's what I wanted from Star Wars. That's what I came here for. And I will say Liam Neeson was great, and Ewan McGregor was fantastic. I don't think you could have picked a better Obi-Wan Kenobi. Well, maybe Alec Guinness.
And I guess that's the big question. If in episode 9, when it comes out in December, should there be all the Force ghosts collectively once again? Which one do you want to see? Do you want to see Guinness, or do you want to see Ewan McGregor?
I think it should be whoever died. I really believe that, man. It should be what you look like when you died. It always pissed me off that Anakin is Hayden Christensen now, for two reasons. One, couldn't stand Hayden Christensen. Very bad act. Very bad in this role. I've actually seen him in other stuff, and he's very good. So whatever, maybe he was new. I don't know. But show me when he died in Jedi, because that's who the guy was. Am I wrong, or where are you guys at?
Totally agree.
It had to be the original actor. 100%. That's what he looked like when he died.
Yes, I'll never understand that. Oh, he died, but he found himself again, so he's Hayden Christensen again. Well, that guy killed a bunch of kids, so technically, I don't know if I want to see that guy. And very quickly, by the way. I'll never forgive Lucas for you had 3 movies and you basically did it in 5 minutes. I don't understand. Why is he suddenly killing children? That's the weirdest twist. Just weird.
And why use 66 as the order?
All right. So what no longer works? And feel free to tell me anything you don't like about the movie. Troy, what doesn't work about the Phantom Menace? And, time hasn't been great to this movie, I don't think.
Even Jar Jar works. It's just the situations that Jar Jar was put in were so childish. Like the whole zapping his bill or whatever it was on the pod race electricity between the things, just random dialogue where he would pop in. I mean, I think the character itself was a great character. It was just executed poorly. Like, you could have done a lot more with him, made him more Chewbacca-like, and just make him stronger instead of such a goofy character. And I think the toy would have sold just as well. So you didn't have to make him childish, to appease the children, I think is the issue. Because you have to remember, as much as this might have been for, the teens and 20-somethings of the 90s, this is still a 1977 franchise that started. So it's really as much for, the 40 and 50-year-olds of the time who were trying to relive something much like we all ended up going to see, The Force Awakens and felt that nostalgia and bringing our 10 and 12-year-olds with us. So you have to appeal to all three generations. And I think that's the one thing that didn't work with the prequels, was that it was filling in story that you might have wanted to know, but didn't really need to know. And trying to set it up with too much stuff in the first movie. Like, if they would have focused it in a little bit more tightly and not have such an expansive galaxy, even though it was nice to see the Republic, it would have been cool just to focus on maybe just Naboo like, for the whole time, and then understand truly what the Trade Federation was really all about, so that you could find out why they were really bad inherently to begin with. I think that was really part of the stuff that didn't work, was that it was too expansive too quickly, and not realizing that you had 3 movies to get through it. So then you get to the second movie and you're like, all right, let's just walk around in the fields and, hang out with some armadillo-looking elephants and make love and whatever. It's like, oh my gosh, it was so bad.
That second one's the only Star Wars movie I hate. I hate that movie.
And that movie has great stuff in it too, with the ending and the clones and
scenes,
how it all sets it up. But you could have just set that up so differently. And I think that this movie caused the other two to fail because it was just too big, too quickly.
And their love is forced. Just forced. I mean, we're focused on Phantom Menace here, but that love story, a Dawson's Creek love story, is just so forced.
Well, and I think that's part of the problem too, is that in this movie, they made Anakin so childlike because they were like, we got to find the child who's going to be the savior and blah, 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 blah. And then you jump to Hayden Christensen in the second movie. I think casting such a too young of a child was a problem.
Yeah, it made it a little creepy, right? Like, you knew him as a little kid. I mean, I know you're supposed to be young, but you don't look as young as him.
Right.
Significantly older than him.
I mean, he could have been like a teenager, like 12 or 14, like not 8. 8 was
9,
weird.
8 or 9, whatever it was.
Yeah.
I think it was 9. And it's one of those things where it's not really just the age discrepancy. It's just you knew him as a little kid. So it's just weird. Not gross, just weird.
And the fact that Darth Maul is only in it for 9 minutes, I think ruins the movie.
6 minutes. 6 minutes.
Yeah.
You gave it 3 minutes more.
Well, it was that long fall that he had after he...
That's a 3-minute fall? I don't think so. What about you, Wayne? What doesn't work for you anymore?
Well, because he does live,
Uh-huh.
Sort of.
Lots of things. I didn't care for Jar Jar at all. Even when I first saw the movie, I'm like, this with the Jamaican accent and everything about it is just horrible. But then again, some of the other people in the trade blockade Congress meetings with their bad accents, it was just bad. I mean, trade blockades, really. And I love Star Wars so much in this movie. Just I was so glad when the next one came out so I could move past it. The directing is horrible. The dialogue is so bad. The acting, which I credit its low level to the directing, it was just bad. Just bad. I mean, I don't know. And like Troy said, the Padme and Anakin's very strange. Well, at least on Anakin's side, he was definitely smitten. She, not till later. Actually, I don't know if she was ever smitten. It just didn't seem right. I don't know what George Lucas was thinking. It was, like you said, it was just too much. He was trying to do too many things all at the same time. And it's not like we didn't know that there was going to be an episode 2 and an episode 3. Because we already had 4, 5, and 6. Something has to fill in the blanks.
And I'll add to it. I agree on Jar Jar with you, Wayne. I just didn't like him. I never thought he was a good character. I got what he was going for. It just didn't work. The biggest problem for me is the entire plot. It gives me a headache. I've seen this movie probably 5 or 6 times in my life. And that's just more than I really wanted to. And every time I focus more on the plot because it's just too complicated. And it's not necessarily bad, but it's trying too hard to be more intelligent than it really is. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's trying too hard. That's probably what it is. I mean, the simplicity of Star Wars is that it was so simple. It was very much just good guys versus bad guys, throw in some lore, throw in some religion, throw in some analogies and everything else. And then it's about the people and the characters and their plight. It's not about this giant political blah, 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 blah. Maybe that was fun in the books for people, but it sucked in movies. And that was my biggest problem. It was just trying to get over that plot, and it didn't get better throughout. I think it got a little better in the third movie. It was almost like Lucas realized it wasn't working, and he finally just kind of dialed it back a little bit and just let the story unfold. And also, I just didn't feel like I need all the Jesus analogies that were here. It was just kind of weird. I mean, okay, I get it. Special kid.
Check.
Got it. Jake Lloyd and Natalie Portman weren't good. I'll probably attribute that to the directing, like you, Wayne. I mean, I feel, especially Natalie Portman's a great actress, so I know she can act. I just felt like it was very wooden, very rough. And Jake Lloyd, I felt bad for the kid. I mean, he's just doing what he's told, and he was very, very young. It didn't work. And my biggest problem is the dialogue. The plot is bad. The dialogue is worse. Here, I wrote down 4 examples of. And you go ahead and guess which character say them or whatever, but here's one. Oh, mooey, mooey, I love you. That's actually a line in the movie.
Wow.
His cells have the highest concentration of midi-chlorians I have seen in a life form. It was possible he was conceived by the midi-chlorians. Okay.
Jar Jar was the first one. Qui-Gon was the second one.
I was not elected to watch my people suffer and die while you discuss this invasion in a committee.
Padme.
Mm-hmm. Misa got a grand army. That's why you know liking us, Misa thinks.
Aaron Peterson.
Yeah. The whole midi-chlorians, that was another thing that did not work, and should be stricken from history.
Yeah. A few minutes ago when Troy was like defending, I'm like, what are you talking about? That was insane.
But you have to introduce it, because now
no, you
know with well, you have to understand how it works because of episode 8 and what episode 8 brings to the table. So there's got to be some spiritual connection of like, how does...
That's where we disagree. You have to do that in 8 simply because he did it in 1. If you didn't do it in 1, you don't have to address it in 8.
Yes.
It's a good point.
Misa say you are correct.
Yippee! That's another line. I'll never stop laughing every time I hear that. And it's not the kid's fault. I mean, I'm sure he did the best he could. But when I hear it, I'm like, that is the most forced yippee I've ever heard in my life. And by the way, kids don't say yippee. Not like that.
No.
I don't. No.
It was probably actually, right spot on, enthusiastic, because he was like, yes, this is my last scene. I could get out of this place.
Yeah.
Where's my check?
Yippee! All right. Should this movie even be remade, or should it be placed in don't touch status? Now, and I want you to answer this honestly, because of where we are. We're in episode 9. Would you want to see at some point them remake the prequel trilogy?
Yes.
Yes.
I think it's got the pieces. It just needs to be redone differently and better, and really make the story stretch over the 3 episodes versus story in 1, 10 minutes in the 3rd, and then nothing in the middle.
So if Disney were to propose that and say, we're going to go back and redo the prequel trilogy, you guys would both be on board with that?
They went back and redid the expanded universe, so why not?
Yeah, I'd be fine with that.
Yep.
I would not be fine if they want to remake 4, 5, and 6.
No.
Oh, no.
Don't
you dare.
If there's a way that we could remake the original trilogy, and then have people only be able to find them, I think that's the way to go. No matter what George Lucas says. And thank you, George Lucas, for inventing Star Wars, taking Flash Gordon and melding it with the 7 Samurai and some other things and making it magical. But we'll take it from here.
God, I love Wayne's point on this one. Yeah, you win. I got nothing else to add to that.
Did you actually see him at the Star Wars celebration when they dedicated the opening at Disney for the new park? The new
I saw
land?
bits of it.
Man, he just did not look like he wanted to be there.
Thanks, Disney. Thanks for ruining all my political aspirations in these films. I mean, now you're just making it simple. I was trying to go deep. I wanted to make Star Wars deeper. I think what happened is he lost because obviously he's a genius. I mean, he really is a genius. He came up with this world. He got ahead of the game on the toy market. I mean, he got rich because he is a smart man. maybe he overthought it. Maybe he was trying too hard. He was trying to make everybody happy instead of just that little kid inside. You know what I mean? Maybe that's where it lies.
Well, he didn't listen to his inner voice. I mean, he wrote the whole thing. And then he's like, which one of these is the most marketable that I can put out first that people are going to enjoy? And that was episode 4. So there's a reason why he picked episode 4 to be the first movie. Maybe it's because the first 3 aren't really good movies. It's just background information that you can release in magazines, comics, or whatever.
Yeah, part of me, I kind of wish it would have stayed that way. But my son loved this movie. I don't know if he still does, but he loved this movie when it came out. I think that is a factor. If you never saw the original ones and you went and saw this one, you might feel different about it because you don't have that whole past history. No,
my wife has avoided 4, 5, and 6 like the plague, just to spite me for many years.
Wow.
Now that she's in the second half of her lifespan at this point, she's said, okay, fine, we'll sit down and we'll watch 4. So she's seen it in order, 1, 2, 3, and now she watched 4, and she's like, 4 is like a really, really, really great movie in general. Story's good, acting's good, characterization's great. She's like, 4 is really good. Like, what did they do with the first 3 is what she asked after she was done with 4.
Ooh.
So even she gets it.
All right, well, I guess it's time to do it. Let's have one more clip, and then we're going to remake this movie, right?
How feel you?
Cold, sir.
Afraid, are you?
No, sir.
See through you. We can.
Be mindful of your feelings.
Your thoughts dwell on your mother.
I miss her.
Afraid to lose her, I think.
What has that got to do with anything?
Everything. Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering.
Okay, since this movie is hitting its 20th anniversary of ruining childhoods, and as fans, we always think we know the best way to do these things, how should Hollywood remake it? If you've never listened before, well, why are you listening to an anniversary episode? That's just weird. But all selections are settled by a best of 3 vote, with each host receiving 1 cup per episode to be used when they are extremely passionate about their idea. We're each going to throw out our idea for how we want this remake to go, and then once we're done, we'll come together and find out the best course of action. Maybe we'll meld some, maybe we'll steal one person's idea. We don't know yet. We'll find out. Who wants to go for Troy? You love to talk the most. We'll let you go first.
Okay. I think that the female lead is probably the best part of The Phantom Menace. And I just think that Natalie Portman got the short stack of how it was written or directed or whatever. But I think what made Star Wars great was you weren't quite sure what the bad guy was or what the menace was or what you were supposed to be afraid of. It was always this tension in the background until you finally it's the Emperor, in the 3rd movie. Mm-hmm. So I think what this should focus on more is stay on Naboo the entire time. It's just Naboo, and it's really an internal civil war between the Gungans and the Naboobians. I don't know what they would be called.
I love that. Naboobians. Yeah.
So it's an internal struggle between them, and they're fighting over some kind of mythical energy source or religious thing that they believe that they have the inherent right to. And what we don't know is that source or that energy point is actually one of the famed Jedi temples. And it's just been buried and built upon over, eons and eons and eons. And this rising menace of the dark side has been trying to find this place because it's actually a Sith temple, not a Jedi temple. And so the Jedi, being who they are, show up to kind of negotiate this peace treaty between the Naboobians and the Gungans. And all the while you find out that the Gungans have actually been taking shipments of weapons and supplies from a nefarious group, the Trade Federation in this case, or something of that kind. And through the course of the negotiations and the work with the Senate, that they really start to uncover this whole thing. Like they're really mining underwater in these underwater caves to get to this Sith temple. The Jedi realize this, go back to the Republic and find out that they need to, stop whatever's going on because it's actually the Sith Lords that are really masterminding all of this. And it's the Jedi that bring the Gungans and the Naboobians together in order to fight against this, mythical enemy that we've now been introduced to, what is the, start of the Empire or start of the dark side. And then that really amps it up to the second movie to go like, okay, now we know who the enemy is. What do we do about it?
Oh, so you wouldn't even have Anakin in this movie?
Well, Anakin would be in the movie, but he's older. He's already part of the Jedi Order. And he comes with Qui-Gon Jinn as the same kind of peacekeeping treaty, thing. But it's really, he's still being tutelaged by Obi-Wan. So let's call it Obi-Wan and Anakin, and we just throw Qui-Gon Jinn out the door. Or maybe Qui-Gon is with the council when they meet with the council. But it's really just it's focused on Obi-Wan and Anakin, because that's what happens in 4, 5, and 6. It's like, I trained him, he was my friend, he was your father, that's why I had to protect you, and blah 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 blah. Like, who cares about Qui-Gon? He's just a guy. Right. So let's throw him out and let's just focus on that relationship between Obi-Wan and Anakin from the start and how it degrades over the 3 movies. In this movie, he's still a Padawan trying to become a Jedi, and he has to learn from Obi-Wan in this tense situation. And as the dark forces start to come in, Anakin starts to question whether or not Obi-Wan has the right things in mind for him, or as this power from the Sith Temple draws him in, he gets more and more interested in what the dark side could do so he can make his own choices.
Okay. All right. I like that. That's interesting. Wayne,
you could still pod race if you want to, and space battle and all the other stuff. But I think trying to understand...
I want a pod race that's twice as long, just on principle.
Sure. The movie opens as a pod race.
And it ends as one. The entire movie is told in pod race form. So just to have little pit stops along the track.
It's exactly that. It's Mad Max racing across the desert. Who gets to the Sith Temple first?
I like it. All right.
Unbelievable.
Wayne, what do you got?
That's good stuff.
Yeah, that is good.
All right. I'm going to take my cue from the opening crawl to this movie and tweak it a bit. So basically, as you know, it all happened a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. The Galactic Republic is in turmoil and everyone is affected. Its troubles started with trade route taxation, but by pulling strings, the Trade Federation, under the control of some truly evil entities, has amassed an army bent on ruling the galaxy with an iron fist. While the Congress of the Republic endlessly debates this alarming chain of events, but not nearly as endlessly as in the original version of the movie, the Supreme Chancellor has dispatched 2 Jedi Knights empowered by the Force to settle the conflict. Now, Qui-Gon Jinn and his Jedi apprentice, they land on this planet, the Naboobians and all those people, and they immediately sense that things are not right. Saves time that way. In addition to the threats of war, the Force draws these Jedi to the home of a child called Anakin Skywalker. And although Anakin's mother says there is no father for Anakin, aside from the Force, Qui-Gon later explains to Obi-Wan that he's not sure that he believes the mother's story, which plants the seeds of doubt for the audience. In fact, after some discussions throughout the movie, Obi-Wan discovers that Anakin's mom is also a twin, and her twin has not been seen for many years. And of course, these mysteries are kind of shelved for now because of the upcoming battles. Maybe they'll be revisited in the sequels if this movie's a success. But a very dangerous Sith Lord calling himself Darth Maul tracks down the Jedi heroes. He kills Qui-Gon Jinn in the greatest lightsaber battle ever filmed. It's going to be a lot more than 6 minutes for the lightsaber battle, but it's going to be awesome. And Obi-Wan, he barely escapes alive. And what he does, in my version, is he takes young Anakin away against his mother's wishes. And the film wraps up with Queen Amidala chasing after them with her own ship. And of course, it's to be continued.
And then how would you, in the, obviously the next 2 movies, how would you handle Anakin's transformation?
Well, he is going to be a bit older, like you both suggested, not such a young kid. I'm still working out the details on how the transformation will happen, but they needed to get him away from the planet and from his mother because something's not quite right with the story she's telling. And in fact, some of these things may not even be cleared up until episode 10.
Interesting. All right. Okay, so here's mine. I've got a whole synopsis. So buckle up. It's going to be a long, long time in a galaxy right now for you guys.
Just stay on target.
Okay. I like it. All right. I believe Obi-Wan should still be the star of this. And in fact, I want the film to follow him as he meets up with Anakin. I would scratch completely all of the Trade Federation mumbo jumbo because I don't think anybody really cares about it. I want to follow as Obi-Wan is an early 30s, maybe 40s swashbuckler. He's already a full-blown Jedi. He comes across this troubled young Anakin after he completes a Jedi mission of sorts. He's not a kid. He's a young man, but he's already angry at the world. He doesn't know his father, if he even has one, and his mother has actually committed suicide when he was 12, which we come to learn wasn't a suicide, but Anakin accidentally killing his mother during a fight with his mind when she tried to make him stop using the Force. So essentially, this is what starts him down a dark path, is he blames himself for his mother's death. He didn't mean to, but the Force was so strong in him, he accidentally kills his mom. See?
Dark.
I'd paint his mom as like anti-religion. So she was just very constantly negative about his Jedi skills. She doesn't want to, unlike a lot of people, she doesn't want to encourage that. So Anakin's been alone for years. Ever since then, he's been living on the streets. When Obi-Wan finds him, takes him in, and begins to train him in the ways of the Force. So they go about Jedi missions similar to the later movies, only to serve Queen Amidala, a young woman, this time very close to Anakin's age. They look the same age. They fall in love, etc. But there's no trade story. This is just an origin story. So Amidala becomes pregnant with their twins, right? And has witnessed Anakin's obsession with the Force because he's obsessed with it, especially now that Obi-Wan has introduced him to the Jedi culture, becomes obsessed with it. She asks him to stop after she witnesses him kill a peasant in cold blood, just on reflexes, because he's so strong with the Force, he can't always catch himself before he kills someone. So he begins to see her in the same light as his mother, as someone who's trying to stop him from becoming the Jedi he feels he's destined to be. So Amidala asks Obi-Wan for help, and he tries to reason with Anakin, who again takes this as an insult and therefore now sees Obi-Wan and the entire Jedi as a threat. He vows to take the children from Amidala once they're born and raise them as the Jedi that they should be. Amidala shows Obi-Wan how dark Anakin's heart can be when she plays a video for him, or, a hologram or whatever, where he recounts how he accidentally killed his mother, and then Obi-Wan witnesses him Force abusing Amidala because he was so angry with her, it seemed like he was going to hurt her while she was pregnant. So at that point, Obi-Wan agrees to help her get away from him before he hurts the children. This leads to a very brutal and bloody battle on the volcano planet as Anakin chases them down, with similar results as Episode 3 had. Anakin is left near death. He believes his children and Amidala are dead. So Obi-Wan hides the children after Amidala does die during childbirth, per her wishes, by separating them, as we found out in the later movies. Our movie closes with Anakin being repaired and becoming Darth Vader. This would be the first movie. He's Darth Vader. And then a wrinkly old man walks in and talks about Anakin's anger and betrayal by Amidala. The old man has begun an uprising and wants Anakin by his side. Anakin remembers the betrayal by Obi-Wan and now believes all like Obi-Wan are his enemy because he's lost his entire family, he's lost his children, he's lost his friend, his best friend, and it's all because of the Jedi. So he sees the Jedi as his enemy now. So he joins this new empire, and we close our Episode 1 with Anakin in full Vader gear, bowing at the feet of the Emperor. The next two movies would be building to where New Hope kicks off.
So movie 2 would be an all-new story that bridges the gap between that one and
Correct.
Rogue One, which would actually be the third movie.
Correct. Well, I mean, we could still get another one in there where they're just like having some cool conflicts that lead to it. But yeah, essentially, I want the whole origin story covered in one movie. I don't think it needed to be drawn out in 3. And it was, to me, I just needed more reason why he would become Darth Vader. And I don't think even with 3 movies, they did a very good job getting there.
Sounds good.
So we got 3 great ideas. Where do we go?
I love the concept of trying to get him all the way to Darth Vader in the first movie because it opens up so many possibilities. And then we don't have to have the frolicking in the field with the romance and whatever.
God, I don't want to see that ever again.
I like how you did the Anakin arc, but he's from Naboo, not from Tatooine.
Whatever.
Like let's keep it all on the same planet, so we're not jumping planet to planet to planet.
Well, there's got to be a way to like marry all 3 of these, I would think.
Yeah, because I think we have to. For my one, I think we have to introduce this concept of what is the Jedi and what is the Sith. I think that has to be introduced in the first movie to understand why the progression change in Anakin is even worth caring about. So you almost have to introduce the religion first, and then you can, at the second half of the movie, then you could go into what you were saying, Aaron, where we could then have Anakin kind of struggling with, there's like maybe it's the bridge where, call it the Yoda moment or whatever, or the Obi-Wan moment.
You could do that as you follow Obi-Wan, because you've got,
right.
And maybe Anakin doesn't even come around till 40 minutes into the movie or something. Up until then, it's just following Obi-Wan as he goes about through the Jedi, various Jedi situations.
Yeah, he's told about, there's this Sith temple, people are fighting over it, he's got to go, keep the peace, and while he's keeping the peace, then he finds Anakin, and then he realizes there's something special or different about him, and he's like, hey, I could use some help because I'm up over my head, because maybe Obi-Wan's still actually an up-and-coming as well, and so he needs a partner, and so he takes on this partner thinking that, it becomes more like a buddy cop movie in a way.
You know what? That's my favorite genre.
And then, and then as they get closer and closer together, Anakin confides more and more about his backstory, like you were saying, and that's how he gets scared about what's going on.
Do you guys like that backstory?
I do. I think it's really great.
I do like the backstory, and ever since the first Star Wars movie, Episode 4, they talked about how evil and how dark the dark side is. So I think we should take that cue and make this movie the darkest, bleakest Star Wars yet, but not boring, but still have it be dark. And like you mentioned with the suicide possibly, and accidentally killing his mom and things like that. We don't need to go off the rails dark, but I do think it should be the darkest yet, and then have fun moments sprinkled in.
Well, yeah, and you could have in the next two movies, Obi-Wan could be your leading character, and he's going against Vader. Because, the only thing you have to have for sure is you have to have a part where they've trained at some point, because that's a big part of the original trilogy. And you have to have what happened to him happen. But you don't need to take 3 movies to get there.
I think you need to do 2, though, because there would be the continuity error then about the fact that he fought alongside with him in the Clone Wars. So it seemed like they were on the same side. So unless you were going to do the Clone Wars in this first movie...
Well, it could be like a side story. See, I think that's the problem. Lucas had to flesh everything out. I don't know if everybody needed that. You could do a crawl to explain a lot of that. You know what I mean? And you just show them in a scene where they're in the Clone Wars. They fought together, and that covers like one of their missions.
So it actually opens up like post Episode 2 is where you would actually start the prequels then. The Clone Wars are already in progress.
I would say like the Clone Wars are going on through the entire movie. It's more of a backdrop, as opposed to it's what's driving the missions that they're on, but it's not the story that we're watching. It's more of like kind of like how A New Hope was really about learning about Luke Skywalker and getting together with Han Solo and how they have to blow up the Death Star, but you don't get all the detail behind it. It's really just like we get hints of it. That's what I think it should be. And maybe, they fight alongside each other, but what they don't tell you in the original trilogy is maybe down the road, they actually end up on opposite sides of it.
Well, see, I kind of like that. If we were to start the prequels during the Clone Wars, the crawl could be something like all hopes of democracy have fallen apart from the galaxy. An evil empire has risen and is amassing an army to take out every known colony across space. Currently on the planet of Naboo, a dispute, over a sacred temple is currently underway in order to achieve power to tip balance in this battle against good and evil. Meanwhile, a dispatched a lone member of the former whatever goes to the planet to try to establish peace. And then it's really about Obi-Wan for the first 3 movies.
I do like having the sacred temple and the more religious, mysterious side of the Force represented. No midi-chlorians allowed. And just go your route, Troy, with the temple and something very mysterious being there.
Yeah, maybe it opens up with Obi-Wan arriving at the planet, so you get your
kick right
standard tip down from the space to the planet shot that you have to have. And then he's trying to come in, and maybe somehow he uses the Force right there in the first 5 minutes to try to escape or hide or get through a blockade or whatever it is to try to get down to the planet. And then we just get him, interacting and mingling with the crowd, or maybe he meets with even Amidala or somebody of that caliber, early on in the movie. And then she sends him off to the cities or the slums or whatever to find information, and that's when he runs into Anakin.
And then as the movie progresses, that's when he'll start alluding to the mysterious, like how the Jedi works, and get the background that you guys want.
I kind of like that.
That could work. And then you could actually have, if you think about it, you can if you close as he's Vader, and they fought together during the Clone Wars, but the Clone Wars still went on. I don't think they ever in the original trilogy said that they fought until it was over. So Vader, like basically Anakin, switched sides in a way. You know, they fought together, and then the next two movies are them fighting each other until the point where where he just finally, he's going to have to lose. Vader's going to have to win. That's one thing that I was kind of I'm a big fan of, is that in the end of the prequel trilogy, you know, when it's all said and done, Vader has to win because the Empire has to rise up, obviously, and Obi-Wan has to admit defeat, but he does so because he's protecting those children.
I was just thinking at the end of the Phantom Menace, our remake, should we have it end on a kind of cliffhanger that's kind of dark and leaves you hanging, kind of like what The Empire Strikes Back did, or have a brief moment of jubilation like at the end of A New Hope, to keep people coming back for the next one?
I think there has to be a jubilation moment from the first movie, just because if you're going to do three, it's almost like I don't want to say it's like a downward slope, right? Because I think the only way this works really well is if Rogue One is the third movie. So really in the second movie, it's about Darth Vader trying to chase down Obi-Wan, and maybe the second movie becomes called like The Fall of the Jedi or The Fall of the Order or something of that nature, where in the first movie, he's just becoming Darth Vader, but the Jedi still exist. In the second movie, you do the Order 66 stuff, but in a different way. So you're taking out the old guard, so there's still like a sliver of hope, and we get introduced to Galen Erso, maybe in the second movie, so that you get the bridge from Galen Erso, and then the start of the talk of the building of the battle station, and all that happens in the second movie. And so that will give you a purpose for Obi-Wan to be like, you know, we hear about these plans and this talk about building a space station. That gives Obi-Wan something to do in the second movie, is to prevent, you know, the space station from even being built in the first place. And then it would go into the third movie where the space station's built. And
What do you think about that, Wayne?
I really like it. I'm just hoping that if we're going to end up having Rogue One be basically episode 3.
Yeah, I don't like that, though. That part I'm not on board with. I don't know about you.
It ties so well into the fourth movie.
It might, but I like it being its own thing. I mean, that's kind of like, it has nothing to do with these characters, so I'd rather it be its own thing. Like, just stand alone. My personal opinion.
Maybe that's the thing. Maybe at the end of the second movie, something happens to Obi-Wan that causes him to go into hiding. So, you know, because the Order 66 stuff is happening in the second movie, potentially at a grander scale, right? In the first movie is almost like the Clone Wars, and then the second movie it's when the Order 66 happens. So the stormtroopers turn on the Jedi, and it's really stormtroopers versus Jedi in the second movie, and that's when Obi-Wan has to escape in order to protect the Jedi. He's got to flee to Tatooine in the second movie, and so the third movie it's really about the people lacking the Jedi, and how do the people keep the rebellion going without the hope of the Jedi, which then causes the new hope for the Jedi to return in the fourth.
Well, Wayne, you get the deciding vote. Third movie is Rogue One or its own thing. Your call. You choose right now.
I would like it to be something other than Rogue One, because even though I know that it's kind of just filling a gap, I didn't like that it hardly had anybody that we knew in it. And even if Obi-Wan's going into hiding, I would like him to be in all the prequels leading up to the other one. Even if he's in hiding, we can see scenes of him in hiding, possibly.
All right. It is decided.
Or I could use my cut, and I can say Rogue One is the third movie.
You could. You have a cut.
I will use it then.
Ah, you son of a bitch.
Oh, snap.
All right,
but Obi-Wan could be in the third movie, too. We just redo Rogue One a little bit differently, but the concepts of Rogue One are like, you can get rid of the whole Sol Guerrera thing and maybe make that an Obi-Wan thing. And that's when Obi-Wan goes into hiding, is during the first 20 minutes of the third movie.
But we're all on board with everything else, and Anakin basically.
Yeah, I love the backstory. I love they're kind of teaming up and finding each other on the planet and introducing the lore and the religion.
And because like Wayne was really wanting the Trade Federation stuff in there, so we can also pepper that into the background too, I think.
I wouldn't say that I really wanted it in there. I think it ties in really great when you think about
I mean, nobody likes the casino stuff in episode 8.
True. Very true.
But the whole concept of the war machine and all these rich people, and they're like facilitating the war and buying weapons and all of that. Maybe it's just, instead of a trade federation, maybe it's just like a weapons supplier group. And the weapons supplier group is supplying the Gungans with their weaponry to fight against the Naboobians.
Yeah, because what I was trying to do originally, though I like your guys' ideas even better, is I didn't want to deviate too much from the original concept to upset the people that love this movie. But at the same time, I think the other ideas are better, and maybe we could just sprinkle in some of the things, because we definitely don't need to see a Senate meeting in space.
No.
That's what Star Trek is for.
Unless it blows up. Oh, good point.
That's why I like starting it at the Clone Wars is already going on, because then it removes the Galactic Senate from the equation altogether. It's already the Empire. It's just that the Naboo planet is so far away from the conflict, and there's this secret temple that's way out. Maybe it's on the Outer Rim or whatever. That it's like a lost legend, and it's a lost lore and a lost mythos that the Naboo and the Gungans don't even know what they're fighting over. And then the war makes its way to the planet in order to help facilitate the conflict, but it's really an ulterior motive to get to the temple.
You know what? I think we got a movie. Now, who would make our movie? Who do you think is our director? Wayne, what do you got?
Okay, I'm veering off because I know I'll just get to the gist of it. I think go with the hot hand, Andy Muschietti.
Oh, from It, huh?
Yes, he could do dark.
Huh.
I think he's got a great eye for this kind of thing.
That's interesting.
Other ideas?
I'm going to give it to the Duffer Brothers.
Oh, that's good too.
Can we keep them from doing too many 80s references? Because there's a lot of pop culture references in the original version of Phantom Menace. I'm like, really? A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, they're going to make those jokes? I don't think so.
You know what? I was going a whole different way, but I'm just scrap my idea. I really like the Andy Muschietti one, a horror filmmaker. Not that I don't like the Duffer Brothers. I think they'd be great too. But I kind of feel like they've already mimicked this tone in a way. And Andy Muschietti, that could be interesting. You know, big guy going from horror movies to taking a big swing at something like this. I'm on board with that. All right.
Let's see what happens.
And he has no cuts left. You have no cuts left.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that.
All right, characters. So based on a remake, we recast let's say the two main leads, Obi-Wan and Anakin. Obi-Wan, who is in your vision for Obi-Wan? Troy?
I'm going to have to switch this up, because the two people I think that'd be really great as Jedi in general, I would love to see Ross Butler and Cole Sprouse work together in this concept.
I know who Cole Sprouse is from Riverdale, but who was the other guy?
I thought Ross Butler was he in 13 Reasons Why? And he was in, I'm trying to remember what he was in recently. He was in Shazam. He's the Asian, taller gentleman.
So you want him to be who?
Well, originally I was like, well, he would be Qui-Gon, and then Cole Sprouse would be Anakin, but maybe Cole Sprouse is Obi-Wan and Ross Butler is Anakin.
Cole Sprouse
but I don't
is
know if Ross Butler has enough acting chops to pull off the Anakin side.
I think Cole Sprouse is way too young to be Anakin. He's like 20.
It's okay.
Or to be Obi-Wan, to be Obi-Wan.
So then leave Cole Sprouse as Anakin, and you guys come up with a better Obi-Wan.
Okay, there's an idea. All right. Wayne, who do you have for both?
Man, trying to pick somebody that has to carry that mantle. I just took a shot in the dark, and I was trying to envision him as I was watching the movie. Tom Felton, who played Draco Malfoy in the Harry Potter movies.
Okay, I like that.
I think he could bring a twist to it.
Which role would he play?
Obi-Wan.
Okay. And what about Anakin? Do you have anybody for him or no?
Kind of depends on which age group of Anakin we were looking at. If we did stay a little closer to but not quite as young, I was originally thinking maybe Noah Schnapp, who played Will Byers from Stranger Things. He could play a slightly older Anakin. Otherwise, I'm not just stuck in that one franchise, though I love Stranger Things. If we went with an older Anakin, how about the guy who played his brother in Stranger Things, Charlie Heaton? He's got that brooding thing down.
Well, my Anakin was actually from Stranger Things. It was Dacre Montgomery, the guy who plays Billy. So I guess we're all stuck in Stranger Things.
We're in the upside down Star Wars.
And I had Jerome Flynn for Obi-Wan.
Oh, I could buy that.
From Game of Thrones. Do you ever watch Game of Thrones, Wayne? I know Troy knows who he is.
No. I saw the first 30 minutes of episode 1, but don't tell anybody.
All right. But you know what? Tom Felton, that's a really interesting choice. I tell you, well, you guys both have your picks, so I can side with both of you, and it's 2 to whatever. I'm going to go Tom Felton for Obi-Wan. I'm going to side with that because that's a really interesting pick. And then Cole Sprouse for Anakin. Boom. Done. Okay.
I had Lily James for Padme.
You can put Lily James wherever you want her. She is welcome in my. I will co-sign. I'll use a cut for it. Whatever you need, buddy.
I was thinking if we were casting Amidala, I was thinking Emma Watson or Zoe Kravitz.
Those are both good, but they're no Lily James. I'm just saying. She's amazing.
Troy pulled out the trump card, huh?
Well, Emma Watson was actually my first one, and then I'm like, no, it's got to be Lily.
In fact, if you want Lily to be Anakin, I'm good with that too. Or Obi-Wan. Let's just shake it up. I don't care.
I forgot. Are we having a Darth Maul in this one?
Yeah, you can have a Darth Maul in here.
I like the Darth Maul character. I just think he needs to be even more evil looking, not just a guy wearing black and red makeup with a few horns on his head. And this is what's cool about it is that if we're starting in the Clone Wars already taking place, Darth Maul can still exist because he is more menacing looking because of his survival and him turning into half robot. We can actually leverage that, and then it makes Rogue One more interesting. Okay.
Oh, I like it. Interesting. You can have Darth Maul. Yeah, absolutely, Wayne. Have him throughout all 3 movies. I mean, he can be the actual foe that. Because, I mean, Darth Vader, yeah, he's going to be there. But really, you already know he's going to have his battle later, so you kind of probably need another character.
How about somebody like Bill Skarsgård as Darth Maul?
Sure.
Sure.
Anything that covers his face up, I'm good. All right, any nostalgic moments? We got our movie, we got our cast, we got our director. What about nostalgic moments?
Wait, before the nostalgic moments, how about the music?
Ooh. Well, it's got to be John Williams.
There's only one person that can do it, and if it's not that person, it's only one other person.
What?
John Williams has to score Star Wars no matter what.
I agree with that.
And if he can't do it, then it's only Michael Giacchino.
I thought that John Williams had retired.
He could still do it. He's already got 90% of it written. He just has to tweak it a little bit.
Who do you want, Wayne? Is there somebody that you wanted?
Well, I just thought if we're going to dark and whatever, that maybe Trent Reznor.
Oh, I like it. That's just edgy. If John Williams isn't available because he's 112, I say let's see what Reznor can do. At least we can hear the score, right? Let's hear it out. That'd be fantastic.
I'm just surprised Wayne didn't go with the Lindelof or the Giacchino in this one.
Hey, I'm branching out, Troy. Branching out.
I like it. You're growing as a person. Any nostalgic moments you want in our new Star Wars movie?
Yes, Anakin definitely during the pod race has to come out of the thing with his face dirty, and then when he turns to the crowd and waves, because his mother's not going to be in this movie because she's dead, but when he turns to the crowd and waves, his face is completely clean.
Whoa.
I don't know if you don't notice that.
Yeah,
he literally comes out of the thing, his face is completely dirty, and then mom kisses him on the cheek, and it's completely clean.
Oh, I did not notice that.
It's so bad. It's so bad. No, I think the pod race definitely has to be in there. Just shorter or different.
All right, Wayne, what about you?
I think we still need to see the first ever meeting of C-3PO and R2-D2, and it can be totally different than how it was portrayed in the original Phantom Menace.
Is there anything that you would like to see, any particular way you would like to see it done, or just different?
No, it just needs to be there.
Okay. All right, I just wanted
maybe they're on the opposing sides.
Ooh, I like it.
R2-D2 is actually like a submarine, can turn into a submarine or something for the Gungans, and then
that's so weird. No, we're not having Gungans. No, that's my cut. That's my official cut. There's no Gungans. You'll never see a Jar Jar in any of these movies. Period. Done. Figure something new out for toys. That's what I go with. I wanted there to be a scene with Obi-Wan and Anakin fighting Darth Maul, and since Wayne already brought it up, I guess we're gonna have it.
There you go.
All right, here's one more clip from the original Phantom Menace.
But agree with your taking this boy as your Padawan learner. I do not.
Qui-Gon believed in him.
The chosen one the boy may be. Nevertheless, grave danger I fear in his training.
Master Yoda, I gave Qui-Gon my word. I will train Anakin. Without the approval of the Council, if I must.
Qui-Gon's defiance I sense in you. Need that you do not. Agree with you, the Council does. Your apprentice, Skywalker, will be.
Okay, guys, that is it for Remake This Movie Right. Oh, you probably wanted to. What's that thing we used to do? You remember what I'm talking about? Like it was what do we do? We put it all together. Trailer! I almost forgot about that. We have one of those trailer thingies. We haven't done that in a minute. So, Wayne, do you mind telling us all about our actual Phantom Menace movie?
Yes, here I am.
And here he goes.
A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, a disturbance has occurred in the Force, where one prequel has been amended by rebels and stormtroopers alike to boldly go where one filmmaker should have went before. All hopes for democracy have fallen as an evil empire has risen. Amassing an enormous army, this empire is seeking to take out every known detractor. Currently, on the planet of Naboo, a dispute over a sacred Jedi temple is underway in order to achieve power and turn the tide of the Clone Wars. A tenured Jedi Master named Obi-Wan Kenobi has arrived to identify and implement a solution. Upon searching for information on Queen Amidala's orders, Obi-Wan encounters a troubled yet talented young man with an exceptional wielding of the Force. He goes by the name of Anakin Skywalker. Taking Anakin under his wing, Obi-Wan quickly learns of an emerging relationship between his protege and Queen Amidala. As Master and Padawan search for the truth and weaknesses behind this burgeoning empire, Amidala learns of Anakin's horrifying secret. His power is so strong it unwittingly led to the death of his own mother. After a confrontation with Anakin goes awry and her safety was threatened, Amidala enlists Obi-Wan's help to escape Anakin's wrath for the sake of her two unborn children. This action and its ensuing battle leave Amidala dead, her children with no parents, a mutilated Anakin, and a sage Obi-Wan forced to hide the children and present them as dead for their own safety. And as an empire continues to rise, so does Anakin's hatred for the Jedi and their betrayal. This is the real story of Darth Vader. This is Star Wars, The Phantom Menace. Now, who wants to start a GoFundMe and make this happen? Yippee! No music or representation from Disney or John Williams was used during the making of this trailer.
All right, guys, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed that. I really enjoyed coming back together and doing this for everybody. Did you guys have fun?
Absolutely.
Totally missed this. This is a great time.
And I think we just made a better movie. If he would have spent 1 hour talking to us.
Imagine.
It might have actually been better than the original 3.
I think everything we came up with is already better than most of the original 3.
Solid. Very solid.
Exactly. This is some real Monday morning quarterback kind of stuff. And now that we have our remake done, it should also be noted that Ewan McGregor has agreed to reprise his role as Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Disney Plus series for Obi-Wan Kenobi. So you're going to see Obi-Wan Kenobi again. Ewan's going to do it again. And we give our permission to fully take our remake idea, take Ewan, go make that movie, or those movies, and make that happen. Come on, Disney. You like money, don't you? All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Remake This Movie Right. You never know when we might pop up again in your feed, so, keep it subscribed. You just never know. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. Wayne, where can people find you?
You can find me at mediavoiceovers.com as well as the PackersFanPodcast.com.
Troy, where can people find you?
Coming back October 4th on the NBC channel. We have The Blacklist and the Blacklist Exposed podcast at theblacklistexposed.com. And you'll also find us over visiting Westworld once again next year in April That's right. BeyondWestworldPodcast.com. Check us out there as well.
Okay, and you can find me all year long on The Hollywood Outsider. That's at TheHollywoodOutsider.com. And also presenting Hitchcock. I started doing a Hitchcock podcast, so you'll see me there, as well as the ones that Trey already mentioned. That's going to do it. Remember to subscribe, obviously, blah, 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 blah. We're on Twitter at Remake Right. So the credits have rolled on this particular remake, but be sure to come back for our next one, if we have one, which we might. You just never know. And remember that every film you love will get a reboot someday, and only
Mr. Jar Jar Binks
can remake this movie right.